parcel and we start designing, especially the subject height of the building and high-rise building. Of course, the first is the road width, what road width is available there, and what is the MOD will allow you the what kind of height. But these are the things which is without your control. Otherwise, you can control other things like to decide the height. So if your MOD height is not available and road width is not there, then you have restrictions. So first, once this is the decided, then you get, okay, but you can do up to 100 meter height, or you can do 150 meter, or your 45 meter. Then once this is decided, what height you have option with you, then the comes on the costing and sale price and costing. Is this they are matching to each other or not? Because high-rise building costs, of course, much higher than a medium-rise building. And first of all, sir, I want to bring your notice that today the high-rise definition is different, because if you see NBC, say 15 meter and above high-rise. But I don't think we are talking here that high-rise. We are talking about the high-rise that's called lower, below 36 meter is like a low-rise. 30 to 70 is a mid-rise, and 70 and 100 above is a high-rise. That's the meaning what we are trying to understand here. So we have to understand the cost and the sale price. Okay, what price you can sell there, so what kind of building you can build there. So this is also very important. Then view from the building, the gap between the buildings, what you can achieve. So these are the parameters we decide, and then we give the brief to our architect and consultant what height should be, or what height type of building we want to build on that project.
So thank you so much. So I'll come to Soyuz sir. You as a support or as a architect, what do you advise the developer at the drawing board stage?
Well, advice to developer is something that is not generally, and actually generally it happens the other way around. I think right now the developers advise the architects what to do most of the times. But yeah, I think in terms of most of the projects I think that we are working on, or projects that are under construction, involve lots of things that contribute towards deciding how tall you're going to build. Like for instance, New Bombay, we have the airport coming up, and that kind of restricts the height to in certain regions to very low heights, and other areas to higher rises. Unfortunately, with the incoming of the new UDCPR, which has given unlimited FSI in the hands of the developers, that has actually created a problem in areas which are actually under the air funnel, and areas that are affected by the air funnel. So even though you have the FSI, you still can't build taller. So there are complications that get into the entire design process because of various other reasons that so it's a joint effort both by the developer and the architect to understand how tall they want to build and what they want to achieve at the end of the day.
Okay. And do costs get discussed at the stage of drawing board?
I think this is one of the things that I discussed with you this morning, which I wanted to kind of bring out, very, very strongly in this debate. The thing is that the governing laws and the kind of bylaws that we have, I don't know, we have not changed the way we are looking at the framework of the bylaws that are being produced over the years. And every year, every time there is a new bylaw that comes in, or a new regulation, or a new GDCR or UDCPR or whatever comes in, it's just a cut, copy, paste of the previous one, and very few changes really are reflected in that. So in terms of technological advances that are taking place, none of that actually gets reflected in our NBC or our building bylaws. And I'm sure Mr. Watve will agree with me when we're talking about high-rise buildings, and when he's talking about buildings which are going more than 70, and probably if we are aiming to build taller and trying to compete with Shanghai and other places, then we need to kind of change our approach, and we need to kind of build the building around the core, and not have these bylaws which kind of form a restriction in having staircases that need to open up onto the outside, and have large ducts for toilets that open up. And actually these large gaps that we kind of create within the building actually creates a difficulty for most structural engineers to actually value engineer the building to kind of get it to what they want it to be, because we actually have slenderness ratios, torsion, and other things coming into play, which kind of defeat the entire purpose of the high rise if we are not kind of building a building which has got a floor plate which is substantially well connected to the core.
So thank you so much. Although we don't have Mr. Makaran today, we wanted to ask him about urban planning and other stuff, which I'm going to ask, Mr. Jain later on. So, Watve sir, what's your view on this? When you actually go and, talk to the developer, when he comes to you saying, I'm going to develop a tall building, residential or commercial or mixed use, what are your views on those?
First thing, how to quantify a building is high rise or not. As per structural element, anything which is above 50 meters is a high rise building. So we have to find out the rules. So this is the first basic. Subject given is low, basically cost effectiveness in Pune. And basically we have in Pune buildings up to 150 meters. But necessarily our buildings are in the range of 100 to 130 meters. So let's concentrate on up to that level. In Bombay, we are thinking of 300 meter and everything. But let's concentrate up to 100 to 150 meter building. Now, second question is, why high rise? And basically, high rise is not by choice. It is high rise by compulsion, because one major holy cow is FSI. And when anybody comes to architect, he wants to consume the FSI to the fullest extent, and further to that, Gauri jasa dhar galto tasa, he wants something more than what FSI is available. And that is required by everybody. And that is the qualification of architect, who gives me what is more than what is available. And as it is available is substantially large, if I am not wrong. So basically these are the two areas. So high rise is by the compulsion. Now when we are making a high rise, we have to find out something. And basically now new code is coming, 1893 is being under revision, and it's a big bomb for the entire fraternity. There are a couple of structural engineers, 4-5 engineers there, Jeswal is there, Inamdar is there, our friend. But basically the new code, what is going to happen? It is going, because cost effectiveness we are talking, and my lateral force is going to increase minimum by 100%. So my lateral force is X, my lateral no force will be 2X. It's not like that, my cost is going to get double, but it will be definitely additional 30-40% we have to spend in high-rise construction. And mind well, we are talking of high-rise which is more than 50 meters. So all buildings is going to take, we are trying out ourselves that MCHI and this CREDA and all these things, we come together and have a representation in the government, BIS and everything. But still we will be having a problem. So when I am digressing from the basic subject, but cost is the basic subject. So what is going to come is that. Now it may come within 6 months, it may come within 4 months, or it may come within 9 months. That's all. I don't think anything will get delayed beyond that.
Okay. So thank you so much. Aditya, what's your view on this? I know cost is one key factor. What kind of value we see when we are, trying to develop any resi or commercial building?
Hi everyone. I've heard all great experts here talking, and I think everyone has brought up a very, very valid point in their whole individual capacity. There are bylaws issues, there are land buying issues, and then there are structural issues which have to go do with the actual cost of building. I think if for a moment, if it's possible, if we can digress from cost optimization to value addition, I think there will be some comeback for the developer as well as the designer, and more importantly from an urban context where the tall buildings will have a way of giving back some way. It's an expensive animal to build. It's not going to be cheap in any way. Nothing is cheap about it, including the mechanical, including the structure and the facade. And nothing is cheap because of the climate that we live in. But if we can create buildings which are high capex items and make them as catalysts for growth in that area, that drive, not everybody has the capacity to build high rise. Okay, so it's only going to be a few players who have that kind of depth. But if we can build buildings, even there are high-rise buildings built abroad. I've worked in New York. I've worked on buildings there. They somehow try to add back to the city. I mean, they give back either from creating a unique landmark that creates an identity for the city, or they create an urban space that gives back to the city, and of course there are other issues. But we are just also trying to build buildings that are simply cut and paste from glass cladded buildings facing south. I mean, we are a tropical country. I mean, how do you build different kinds of high rises? I mean, there are lots of great examples abroad where even low cost housing is done on high rise buildings. I mean, we are actually building the tallest hostel building with Mr. Watve in the world. But even then, I mean, these are vertical communities, right? You're actually taking a flattened out building and making it vertical. I mean, how do you create better spaces and add value so that somehow either if you can't reduce the cost of construction, you increase the velocity of sale. And I think that's also one way of having this conversation.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Aditya. So, sir, you go to urban planner, right, before you start any project. What kind of support do you get from them? Although he's not there, this question was basically for him. What kind of support he extends to the developer so that the plan what has been made for the building, it's been run on time, approvals are given on time, etc., etc. So, what kind of your experiences?
Support, I don't think we get any support from that. And their job is not to support us, their job is to control us. So they control and they try to do whatever bylaws are given by the government, the development control rule. And they make sure that we follow from any department. You go to EC, environment clearance, or you go to building permission or building sanction or any. So every departments are, of course they're positive, but ultimately they are controllers. So we cannot expect a benefit from them. Only we can say that whatever bylaws are framed by them, we follows and they control over it. So we are happy with that about it. Otherwise, if controls are not there, then there will be no fun in the whole game. So if everybody play on the same rules and same ball game, we as a developer, we are comfortable with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So today developers are focusing on a very sustainable buildings, right? Having a lot of technologies in place, etc., etc. So how does all this, you keep all this factor into consideration and also keep the cost under check?
Yeah, cost is very, very important factor which every developer normally keeps, and they should keep it. But nowadays, developers are thinking about environment-friendly buildings, and like many things has come in bylaws also, such as every building should have STP. They should use a grey water for the flush and things like that.
Right.
So practically, developer are become conscious by the bylaws also, and they are also, even the client today nowadays, they give a lot of importance to the environment-friendly buildings. So things are nowadays changing.
Yeah. So what we sir, because when we talk about tall buildings, I think vertical transportation plus your DGs, etc., they play a vital role in in the complete cost of the building, right? So how do you suggest the developer in terms of what should be the quality, what should be the cost, etc.?
Unfortunate thing, a developer when decides by compulsion or by choice to go high rises, the basic thing is that's a totally new animal now, high rise, 30-35 meter. So he immediately doesn't ask. Till today he is not starting me that how economical it will be. He wants optimized but not economical. Now it's 7-story building, he will definitely ask me how many kg. Now he started asking up to 22 kg. But anything beyond 35, they restrain themselves to ask me what is the cost economics. Because they want safe, they want to go in a safe hand also. The issue is very different. Issue is structural consultant, how important structural consultant's role in high-rise building. Because of this, now Soyuz have said there has to be core area, there has to be lateral aspect ratio of the building, then torsional mode. I'm very happy architects have started talking in these terms. And I'm expecting with the new things which are coming in. Now architect has to start with that. Because there are very few architects gives me a building which is suitable for high-rise construction and high-rise design. Problem in is 7-story building keeping one above other for 5 times doesn't make you high-rise building. It's a simple thing, it's a totally different. And now structural system has been defined by Indian Standard Code. What kind of structural system is available for 150 meter? What is available for 120 meter, and that is what is available in zone 2, zone 3, zone 4 and zone 5. Now another zone has been added. Certainly the building was in zone 2 or zone 3, it has gone in zone 5. Surat especially, new code is going in zone 5. Kolkata is going one zone above normally. So basically all these issues are there, but I have always insisting architects has to study the basic requirement, and who are the people, basic architects, Soyuz or Vivek is here, or there are a number of architects who is designing high-rise buildings, so they give me what I want, and they think for that only.
So I have
They don't start with 200 thick wall, RCC wall, for 35 meter building. They will say, "Aapko to 450 or 400 lagega na." That's their first question, and that is what, and then cost come later.
good, thank you. So Soyuz, it's coming to you because he said, today you are thinking in a different way, right? The way developer wants or, the consultants want. What's your view on, when you design the building and you, look at sustainability and the ESG piece, which is, the key words of today. How do you advise the developer, okay, your costs will be under check, will go up or will remain the same?
Well, I mean, like he mentioned, we've been working on this, on the planning bit to a great extent. And, when I have seen, arguments that take place with developers as far as structural grid is concerned. We try to kind of iron out the grid to kind of make everything uniform. And the developer is always looking at the other end of things. So the developer is constantly thinking of area, and he's trying to get that thing down to the ticket size and what will sell and what will not sell. But when we are looking at high rise and when we are looking at area, that kind of, you can't kind of control the area of an apartment unless and until you kind of get everything down to a good structural grid. And if you get things down to a good structural grid, then you'll end up with a cost saving, because everything kind of falls into place for a structural consultant. Otherwise, most of the times what happens is you come up with absurd grids, and then you have a structural consultant struggling trying to put in columns in locations where he wouldn't have wanted one, or trying to squeeze in things where he wouldn't want to squeeze in things. So like I mentioned earlier, this problem that we have, that we kind of don't, our core does not collaborate with our building. It's like a freestanding piece that is in the center, and our building kind of floats on the outside. And there is no connect between the apartment or even it happens even with commercial buildings, not just residential, where the core and the main floor plate do not kind of collaborate with each other. So when we work on layouts, we kind of try to convince developers that that's the way things need to be done, and probably we need to increase a little bit here and there, and they may not land up with sizes that they are actually expecting, and probably they will have to build a little bigger than what is required because we need to get the structures right.
Good. So Aditya, coming to you, let's say you have designed a beautiful building, sustainable, but developer in the meantime says, I want to change. So how that changes impact the overall cost of that particular building?
Change at what time and what stage is always going to be a problem. I mean, sometimes the cost is on the ground, which normally doesn't happen, and most of the times it's on the paper, which is only reflected at a consultant level, right? So I think it's about managing everybody's expectations. I think it's about the process in which it is like Sir said, it is a new animal. Okay, we've got to learn to live with it. I think as much as we think, I mean, the developer, before they come to us, has done a fair bit of due diligence before they make that decision. I mean, at the end, they are the funders of this entity, right? So to say, I mean, they have the resources to do the due diligence. So I think if there within reason, changes are always going to be a problem. Changes are always a problem. Okay, but I think if the brief is set and the expectations are set, then I think you have to go with what it requires. It's not as simple as you're doing a 15-story building where you can just move around things and it's okay. I mean, when we are talking 100 to 120, 135 meter buildings, I mean, the structure defines a lot. I mean, you can't just simply move things around. So sustainability, cost effectivity, all these things are value adds that come later. I mean, the building has to stand, the building has to withstand, and be there for a long time. Nobody is building this for 30 years. I mean, these are long-standing buildings with a lot of input. So I think I don't think I've answered the question, but I think I think if the process governs this method, then changes will happen a lot less. I think that's just the way it is.
So, sir, as a developer, let's say, you find that there is something new which had come in the journey of your project and you want to make a change. How do you enforce that, I want this to happen and, and this is going to impact the overall cost of your, project. What do you do then?
This is a typical point. Many time developer is, whenever we studying a lot of new product, a lot of new design come in front of us. But we always, before we do the changes, we see the impact of that. Because what level your project is there, and in rera jamana isko bolte, यहाँ पे एक दिन delay भी सोचने को डर लगता है कि नहीं भाई अरे कोई changes करेंगे और any small changes take few months back a project, as good as 3 months to a year back if you change the design or change the specs. So we have to see what impact will come on the timeline. Cost is very not so important as much as the timeline, because project delay in rera jamane mein is not affordable to any developer. So nowadays people does not change so fast. They do changes, they register and they implement in the next project if they find.
And what
including sometimes you find that your flat ka design is gone wrong. You require a marketing team require a X size of flat and you've done a Y size of flat. Even people continue and deliver it because otherwise they will project will go to bust.
So what was, sir, same to you? Let's say you have a very, unique product which has come in the market. How would you convince the developer to implement that in his? I said there is a unique product which has come in the market, right? And you want to advise the developer to implement that in the building.
Basically, uniqueness comes from, architects.
Yep.
That's their creativeness. I'm not there to control his creativity. I have to support his creativity. But that support has been given by architect. That's a simple definition. And that building will work as a team. Now it is not creation, because I have heard one particular thing when I was in last week I was in Thailand and somebody mentioned in one conference. If building is looking too good, slick and everything, it is having a wow effect. People ask, who is the architect? And some collapse is happening. First question, who is the consultant? So, basically, that's the issue. But we have to see, it is to be working as a team. That's my first thing. Second important thing is, recently I was hearing from Amit Shah, these storms, earthquake and everything is coming on a regular basis and frequency has increased. Initially, we say, आज building design करो, earthquake आएगा तो देखा जाएगा नहीं तो भाग जाएंगे. That was builder tendency. Now earthquake is knocking on your door. All storms are knocking on your door. I have constructed a building, the 42 in Calcutta, which is a 250-meter tall building. And suddenly, that storm has developed called Amphan. Sanju Parekh is here, called as Amper. And that is the building where, for the first time in India, we put a sourcing water damper to reduce the oscillation. Fortunately, nobody was living there, but we could measure the oscillation. And it has sustained that Amphan speed of the storm. But yes, now what we have to design, or high-rise building we have to design for this. We say when earthquake आएगा तो भाग जाएंगे, storm आए तो भाग जाएंगे, वो नहीं. सब हिलने वाला है, सब गिरने वाला भी है. So we have to redesign, and we have to think, we have to change the psyche of the people. And psyche of the architects have changed. The people who are designing more than 60-meter, 100-meter building, they have changed their thing. As he said, he gives me mark, Watve तेरे लिए core बना के दिया है.
But don't you think these are discussed at the, design board stage? Okay, I'm in this zone and, I should be having building which can sustain 7.5 to 8 Richter scale.
That is standard. I don't think so.
Okay.
It is to be imposed. It is as per the Indian standard code. And now with the RERA and everything, everybody has jammed by all other rules and regulations. I think so. What जमाने में builder आते थे ऐसा बोलते थे, we are working for last 45 years कि अभी वो नई कोड फॉलो किया तो चलेगा, ऐसा तो नहीं चलता है. Now we have to follow the code. बाद में बार भी निकालते थे, वो भी टेंडेंसी चलेगी. Quality of construction has improved quite a lot. There are lot of good signs are there, but still forces have increased. Initially my building was 5 parking plus 3 ground plus 2. When I was working in the Arvind, it was ground plus 2 parking plus 3 only. Now he is talking ground plus 30 and parking plus 30. That's the difference. So he has graduated, I have to graduate every aspect of the building.
But I also understand, from the discussion, every person who is involved into this has to go hand in hand, developer, architect, consultants, everyone, right? And that's a good thing to see in future. When you are looking at controlling the cost, every person who has been working on that project is responsible for doing this. Sir, one question to you, and that's very important. Today we are struggling with the skilled manpower or labor. How do you address that challenge, when you are developing a building?
This, with the new bylaws and new high-rise jamana we call nowadays, because there is no building less than 12 floors and 36-story to 150-story building what we are doing. So labor dependency day by day is getting reduced, and that's required. Availability of labor also, and the kind of building you're building, it cannot be done by labor. So huge machinery we are using it, and technology. Like LU form, पहले 10% 15% डेवलपर करते होंगे, आज 95% 90% डेवलपर इज टॉकिंग एलू फॉर्म, एंड विदाउट एलू फॉर्म यू कैन नॉट थिंक कि आप बिल्डिंग कर सकते हो. मेरे को खुद को लगता है कि अरे पहले हम एलू फॉर्म के बिना कैसे करते थे. इट्स लाइक दैट. सो
At that time, these tall buildings.
Yeah. So all this technology, aluform is the basic thing. Apart from that, the lifts and cranes and plaster के लिए झूलाs and all that become a lot of machinery has come in this industry. उससे labor का requirement, labor dependencies become much less. But of course, they are very important.
Right.
And skilled labor लगता है अभी, और skilled labor लगने से we can pay higher price because the number of labor required less nowadays.
Good. Thank you so much, because that's one of the key area where, developer had struggled in this pandemic area, plus, recovering from it, but yeah, slowly and steadily. So my next question to all of you is, what's the one case study you have in your mind where you have, you designed something and it has come to that, level? One case study. So maybe I'll start with Aditya first. One case study where you...
I'll tell you one of my story,
Okay,
life
let's say.
story. We designed a building, architect ने दिया, consultants structure के पास गया, estimate हुआ building, और पता पड़ा कि उस building की cost इतनी आ रही है कि it is not possible to sell in that locality that cost of building. So literally we have scrapped our entire design, and we decided to lose this much FSI and make a building which can afford that market. So a lot of developers doesn't do that mistake. They design to consume full FSI without taking the calculation ki what is the cost and what is the sell price. So my advice and my experience was in that building, कि once you design your building, you estimate your cost and you estimate your sale price. And if they're matching, then only you should complete the building. Or you at the design level, you scrap the building and redesign the building. So we have done that in one of the cases.
One of the things that I can think of is what's happening right in my backyard at Nena. Nena is one region that is being developed by SIDCO. And what they've done is they have kind of, they're doing a town planning scheme kind of thing where, a TPS scheme where they have kind of taking back land from the owners. So they're taking 100% of the land, giving you 40% back, and they're giving you 2.5 FSI. So effectively you got back your 1 FSI. But what's happened is the 2.5 FSI has come on a 40% area. Now what's happened is that what we used to land up building, maybe ground plus 7 and ground plus 6 storied buildings in that area have actually shot up to ground plus 20 and 30 storied buildings. So that's where there is a big problem in terms of calculating the cost, because the cost of land was cheap, but the cost of construction has reached such a point that even if you construct the high rise, you still cannot match up with the selling price in that area. So it's like a place you can't build because the cost of constructions are so high.
So Aditya, I know time is up, but I just want to hear from you one case study where you felt, I designed and everything has fallen in place.
No, I'll tell you one where it hasn't fallen in place. In fact, we was working on a building in Mumbai, in Dadar, with MBRDV, which is a world-renowned, I was their local architect. They had options of designs. The developer chose the more iconic building. We went through, we started the approval process. We went through all the approvals, all of that. The shape of the building, the size of the building, the height of the building was such that by the time they calculated the structural cost, the parking PPL, FSI, the cost of that and everything, the sale price didn't match up. And the project, so sometimes the design itself has to be changed at that ground level, ground zero level, and you have to do this whole exercise at that time. And the project unfortunately is stalled. So I don't think there are happy stories.
And sir, you have done multiple, multi-hundred
I'll
buildings.
give very different example. Normally, whosoever has constructed, as you rightly said, iconic buildings, which is the icon of this city, icon of this country, all are at loss. That is the story. But here, we were constructing iconic buildings, which is called as Imperial, which is there already, 1 and 2. And builder were SD Corporation, Shapurji Palanji and Dilip Thakkar. And when Dilip bhai called me, Watve, we are constructing a 60-story building. So I can sell within 8,000 rupees a square foot. So 3,500 mein ho jayega kya? I'm talking in 98 or 97. Unfortunately, because of number of other issues and everything, it got delayed. And my cost has come 8,500 rupees. Unfortunately, to end up, I said they are selling at 60,000 rupees.
Wow.
That's the...
Recover your cost.
So, I will open
delayed the project.
So thank you. I'll take a couple of minutes, to open it to the audience. Anyone has any question to ask? Yes, please.
Can we have a mic there, please?
Good evening, everybody. I would like to ask Watve sir that regarding the high-rise building, especially commercial, what grid we shall follow for the columns? Because usually in commercial building, car parking matters for the column grid. So if you want to reduce on the podiums, second, if you want to go for the stack parking or puzzle parking, whether 7.5 or 10.5 or for 5 car parking bays are efficient, because in this case there will be no normal height of 3 meters or 3.3 meters. In case of stack parking or puzzle parking, we'll have to go for at least 4.5 meters. So which bay grid is much more efficient, whether it is 7.5 or 10?
You're talking about commercial building.
Yes.
I don't think your height of the floor will be that much important, because normally we go for a squarish building, a squarish column, I am sorry. So height will taken care of, there is no problem. You can go up to 10 meters plus column size. We normally say 4 car park per column size or 5 car parks per column size. We can construct anything which is up to 100 meters, 120 meters. At present, we are doing building with 5 car park in one side and second side also 12.5 meter, and which is 200 meter tall building. But necessarily, we have to now, with the new 16700 code, we have to define a system. There has to be core, there has to be some peripheral shear wall, which will take the shear wall, and rest everything will be gravity columns. Now, that's why again I'm saying all architects say ये gravity करो, ये मेरा lateral load existing column करो. ऐसा architect also started telling me, and I'm very happy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? So thank you so much. I'll wrap it up. I know time is up. So thank you so much for this, discussion and for the insight. So thank you.